I am so glad to be back home. Yep. Last night, I went on another one of my time travel expeditions. Expeditions. Yep. In case you haven't met me yet, I have special powers. You know, kinda like That's So Raven. Oh my God, girl. Only I am blessed with the ability to see visions of the future and travel back through time to visit great historical figures and events. So, back to what I was saying. I traveled back in time last evening and I found myself in the very midst of colonial America in a crowd full of angry colonists. Yikes! They were steamed. At first, I was guessing that their Facebook accounts had been hacked or something terrible as such. However, my friend Snoopy Doopy Dog explained that they were just mad at the king. I found that hard to believe. Snoopy Doop made it clear that they were not mad at Elvis, especially since he hadn't even been born yet, but rather the colonists were mad at King G to the 3. Yep. Now, you see, Snoopy Doopy Dog explained to me that in, say about 1754, Britain and the good old colonists of the U.S. of America were in a ferocious battle against the French and the Indians over some land. Finally, Britain won the battle, thanks to us. Then, all of those croissant-eating French fried fellows took their tails out of the Ohio River Valley. Woohoo for us, right? But that cost us a pretty penny. Yes, it was expensive. So, do you know what the British decided to do? Well, Snoopy Doopy Dog said that King G to the 3 and his British peeps raised our taxes and put a tax on almost everything the colonists use. I said, what? You mean the U.S. helped Britain win the war against the French fries and the Indians, and they thanked us by making the colonists pay for it out of their own pockets with higher taxes on products coming into the U.S.? Now that ain't right. Did they tax kibbles and bits too? Bacon bites? Please tell me they didn't tax bacon bites. Okie dokie. According to Snoopy Doop, it felt like they taxed everything, including the air they were breathing. Then the Brits started making all these rules. Rules like colonists can't go west beyond the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, they had this imaginary boundary line that the colonists couldn't cross. They called that the Proclamation Line of 1763. They even tried to scare us with the Indians, threatening they would attack us. So now there was all this land over there, and the colonists couldn't even use it. And let me tell you, those colonists were all scrunched up and crowded, and they needed that land. Some of the colonists had already settled and established living quarters beyond the line. I guess the British just expected them to relocate. Woo! All this talk was making me tired and thirsty. So I asked Snoopy Doop for a spot of tea. And he said he would be glad to fix me some tea, but he let me know real quick like that I couldn't have any sugar in my tea because he was fresh out. I said, what? And he said, oh, sugar! That reminds me about the colonists I was telling you about. Yeah, King G to the 3 went and put the Sugar Act into effect in 1764, which made the colonists even more angry. They really didn't like old Georgie Porgy. So, round about this time, I says to my friend Snoopy Doopy Dog, hey man, can we at least go rest at your place and curl up in a nice bed, relax? He told me to just chill out while he finished his story about the colonists. And since I brought up the topic of beds, that reminded old Snoop of the Quartering Act. Then he really went on a rant about how King George III forced colonists to open their homes to British soldiers and allow them to live there and somewhat take over their living quarters. Hence the name Quartering Act. Such rubbish. I was like, wow, okay, so the colonists had no sugar.
No sugar tonight in my coffee. No sugar tonight in my tea. No sugar to stand beside me. No sugar to run with me. Dun, da, down, down, dun, da, down.
And no bed to sleep in. And so I was like, Doopy Dog, what did the colonists do to blow off steam? Did they maybe get a good poker game going or read the newspaper? Or what, man? What did they do? He was like, no, Canine. The colonists couldn't afford no newspapers or playing cards. Dude, they couldn't even get hitched without paying a special British stamp because of the Stamp Act. And then came the Townshend Act. Good Lord! That put a tax on everything from glass to paper. He said those Brits were doing all kinds of price jacking. Then he started telling me about Smooth Sammy Adams and his gang, the Sons of Liberty, notorious for pranking on British soldiers by tarring and feathering them. That does sound kind of mean, but he said they deserved it. You know what else they did, those Brits? They monopolized the whole tea market, and the colonists were forced to drink the tea imported from Britain, since no other brands were available. Nasty. Yuck. Gross. Then Snoopy Doopy told me about some of our humans who dressed up like Indians and went sneaking into the British harbor and dumped 3 shiploads of tea into the water. Called it the Boston Tea Party. I thought to myself, yeah, that's better than the tar and feather prank. I bet old King G to the 3 wasn't too happy there. No, sir. Snoop said he then passed the Intolerable Acts, meaning the colonists could not have town meetings anymore or use the Boston Harbor either. He pretty much made life miserable for the colonists. King George.